next question is, well, how do I start spending more intentionally? What I do not like about a lot of personal finance education is it shames you for wanting to spend money. And I'm gonna say specifically for women, it's like, well, you shouldn't buy money, you shouldn't spend on clothes or hair or shoes or whatever. And I always want to be like, well, you know what? If we were not judged by these things, then I wouldn't. Right? Actually, I'll say I'm very proud of myself today. Today is the first presentation that I'm not wearing makeup. And I decided to do that today to just try it and see how I feel about it. Right. And I said this to myself. I'm like, you know what? If my husband doesn't have to wear makeup, why do I? That's what I said to myself this morning. So S stands for spend intentionally. And what I'm asking you to think about when you think about that huge number that we just calculated, let's start out with some small swaps. Rather than sacrifice, I don't really like the word sacrifice because it implies that you have to deprive yourself to become rich. Instead, I want to ask ourselves, what are some swaps that I can make that I'm going to trade up for? So let me give you some examples. In this past year, number one, I switched to Mint Mobile. If you're in the US, Ryan Reynolds got me in all those commercials. I'm not at all affiliated with them, but I got enough commercials. I was like, okay, I got to try it. And I was so dubious because I guess I was gaslit to believe that you need to spend like $200 a month on a phone bill and get good reception. Turns out I pay $30 a month and my reception is just fine. Right? So I calculated I'm saving $1,200 a year by just making that one choice. Number two, this year I decided I love to travel internationally. Last year I went to Korea, I went to France, I went to Portugal. But this year I decided I'm going to vacation more locally, and I calculated it's going to save me about $17,000 from last year. A lot of us are like, oh, in order to, feel free and go vacation, we got to go to like the Bahamas or something like that. There's actually a lot of really cool places in the US. By the way, if anyone has a great US location that you think is worth visiting, I'd love to hear it in the chat. Right? And then number three, and this is more for me personally here, is that I tend to have shiny object syndrome, right? Where, oh, like a new personal development course, that sounds good. I'll take that. Like, ooh, like a new conference that I should go to, even though I didn't do anything from the last conference. Right. So one of the things I decided this year was that I'm going to focus on what I already have first, all of those courses that I bought, all of those programs that I'm in, like maybe I should maximize my opportunities there first before I join something new. And I calculated that's going to save me $10,000. What could you swap? It could be something as simple as saying, you know what, I instead of eating takeout 3 times a week, I'm going to eat takeout 2 times a week, and I'm going to take the extra money and I'm going to use it to pay off my credit card bill. It doesn't have to be a huge one. I obviously use some really big examples here just for effect, but what are some swaps that you can make? Now, I'm going to pick on you, Carlton, as an example. Here is the trick. It's not a swap if you don't reallocate it. You're just cutting it. So Carlton, if you said all the streaming services for one, how much money is that per month? And what are you going to use that money for instead? That's the shift that we have to make. So I'd love to hear from you, Carlton. What would you put that money towards instead? Bills. Let's get more specific. Is there a specific bill? Right? Okay, so Osvaldo said, sell my car and buy an investment apartment. That's a swap, right? Carlton said credit card, right? So what I like about this exercise too, and I want everyone to think about this, is that it doesn't mean that you're giving things up forever. Guess what? If you cancel all your streaming services and then you pay off said credit card bill, then you always go back to the streaming services. Here's the trick I'm going to ask you to do. It's called this or that, right? Whenever you're coming across a discretionary expense. So when I say discretionary, meaning it's like not necessary, but you want it. I'm not saying that you can't have it. Just ask yourself the question. Do I want to have, watch another night of Netflix, or do I want to pay off my mortgage? Do I want, to go on this really expensive vacation, or do I want to retire 5 years earlier? When you frame things to say, oh, I can't have streaming services anymore and I have to pay my bills, chances are you're not going to do it. It's not fun. But now you're saying, okay, do I want this temporary thing or do I want permanent freedom? It starts to put your choices in different kind of contexts and just saying, I'm depriving myself.
If you like this video, stay tuned for more videos I post weekly on how to save, invest, and fast track your financial freedom. And if you like reading, check out my book. It's now available for pre-order in the links below. And it is called Crush Your Money Goals by Simon & Schuster and me, Bernadette Joy, available December 2024. But you can pre-order now and you will get my bonus free course when you purchase my book. See you soon.